The Zaran research vessel Eternal Seeker drifted at the edge of an unexplored solar system, its crystalline sensors absorbing data from the unremarkable yellow star and its 8 planets. Chief Researcher Venice stood before the ship's primary observation window, her iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to pale green as she processed the incoming information. Something about this system's 3rd planet had triggered the ship's anomaly detection protocols. Analysis complete, Chief Researcher announced Second Observer Krell, his tendrils weaving complex patterns that expressed both excitement and concern. The atmospheric composition shows clear signs of industrial civilization, but the energy signatures are unusual. Venna glided closer to the holographic display, her 4 eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. The Zaran Confederation had encountered 47 spacefaring species in their 10,000 years of exploration. Each had followed predictable technological progression: quantum energy matrices, gravitational manipulation, psychic enhancement networks. But these readings showed something different. "These can't be correct," she muttered, her scales flickering with disbelief. "They're using nuclear fission, chemical propulsion. These are primitive technologies we abandoned millennia ago." The bridge crew's attention focused on a sudden alert from their long-range scanners. A structure had been detected on the system's outer moon, a military outpost, based on its configuration. But instead of the expected energy shields and quantum barriers, it appeared to be protected by layers of metal alloys and ceramic composites. "Fascinating," Venna breathed. "They've developed technological solutions completely outside standard progression paths. This requires closer study. Move us into observation range." As the Eternal Seeker adjusted its course, none of its crew noticed the small dark objects detaching from the outpost's surface. The humans manning Outpost Delta 7 had spotted them long before the alien ship's sensors had detected the base. Lieutenant Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with growing tension as the alien vessel approached. 6 stealth Hunter-class interceptors had already moved into flanking positions around the unknown ship, ready to respond if needed. The outpost's apparently primitive design was intentional. Hard experience had taught humanity that appearing less advanced than they actually were provided a significant tactical advantage. "Still no response to our warning, boys," reported Sergeant Mike O'Malley, his Irish accent thick with concern. The automated buoys, broadcasting simple radio signals marking human territory, had been ignored by the approaching vessel. "They probably think radio is too primitive to be worth monitoring," Chen replied, a grim smile crossing her face. "Just like the last 3 species that tried to invade Earth." The alien vessel continued its approach, its sensors probing the outpost with increasingly powerful scans. Chen watched as the readings were absorbed and analyzed by the base's quantum computing core, disguised as a simple fusion reactor. The aliens' technology was impressive, but their assumptions about human capabilities would be their undoing if this turned hostile. "They're launching something," O'Malley announced. "Small probe. Looks like it's designed for close-range observation." Chen nodded. "Time to show them we're not as primitive as they think. Initiate Protocol Fibonacci." Across the outpost, systems that had appeared dormant or primitive suddenly activated, revealing their true nature. The alien's probe found itself surrounded by a complex web of gravitational distortions, quantum entanglement fields, and other technologies that should have been far beyond a primitive civilization's capabilities. Aboard the Eternal Seeker, alarms blared as their probe encountered the unexpected defenses. Venna's scales shifted to alarm red as reports flooded in. "Impossible," Krell exclaimed. "They're using quantum manipulation technologies, but without any of the prerequisite development stages. Their energy signatures suggested they were centuries away from such capabilities." "Full stop," Venna ordered, but it was too late. The human interceptors had already revealed themselves, their primitive hulls housing weapons and defensive systems that matched or exceeded the Zaran vessel's capabilities. A transmission reached them, broadcast simultaneously on radio waves and quantum channels. "Attention unidentified vessel. This is Lieutenant Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered restricted space and ignored multiple warnings. Power down your systems and prepare for inspection, or we will be forced to take defensive action." The Zeren crew stared in shock at the tactical display as more human vessels emerged from hiding, their sensor-absorbent hulls finally becoming visible as they powered up their weapons. What they had dismissed as a primitive outpost was actually an advanced military installation, deliberately disguised to appear less threatening. "These humans," Venna whispered, her scales now showing patterns of fascination mixed with fear, "they've developed along a completely different path than any species we've encountered. They maintain the appearance of primitive technology while mastering advanced sciences. But why?" The answer came in the form of sensor readings from the human vessels. Unlike the elegant but fragile designs of most spacefaring races, these ships were built to survive even if their advanced systems failed. Basic projectile weapons backed up energy beams. Chemical thrusters supplemented quantum drives. Every system had redundancies, often using technologies that the Zarans had considered obsolete. Their survivors, Krell realized, his tendrils forming patterns of understanding. They've built their civilization to endure any failure, any attack, any disaster. Even if we destroy their advanced technology, they could continue fighting with their primitive systems. Venna made a decision that would change the course of Zaran history. "Open all communication channels," she ordered. "We need to learn from these humans. They've discovered principles of technological development that our civilization never considered." As the first official diplomatic contact began between humans and Zarans, both sides knew this encounter would reshape their understanding of civilization's progress. The humans had proved that true advancement wasn't just about discovering new technologies. It was about understanding the value of old ones and being ready for anything the universe might throw at them. The rest of the Zaran Confederation would soon learn what the crew of the Eternal Seeker had discovered. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their advanced technology, but in their ability to combine the old with the new, the primitive with the sophisticated, creating a resilience that no single technological path could match. Admiral Reyna Patel stood before the Grand Council of the Zaran Confederation, her weathered uniform a stark contrast to the crystalline shimmer of the alien diplomats. The massive chamber, designed to inspire awe with its soaring geometric patterns and quantum light displays, failed to intimidate her. After 30 years in Earth's Space Force, she had learned that appearances meant little. "Your research vessel's incursion into our territory has raised serious concerns," she stated, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. "However, we're willing to discuss peaceful relations, provided certain conditions are met." The Grand Arbiter, a towering Zaran whose scales rippled with patterns of authority and wisdom, leaned forward. "We acknowledge our error in bypassing your warning systems, Admiral. But surely you understand our confusion. Your technological development pattern is unprecedented." Patel allowed herself a small smile. "That's precisely what we need to discuss. Your assumptions about technological progression nearly caused a diplomatic incident. It won't be the last time if we don't address the fundamental differences in our approaches." The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing detailed scans of human vessels and installations. The Zaran analysts had spent days studying these images, and their confusion was evident in their color-shifting scales. "Your ships," began a Zaran theoretical engineer, their tendrils writhing with intellectual frustration. "They contain technologies spanning what should be thousands of years of development. Primitive combustion engines alongside quantum drives. Projectile weapons next to the plasma cannons. Radio systems backing up psychic resonators. It defies all known models of civilization advancement." "That's because your models are based on a flawed premise," Paddle replied. "You assume technology progresses in a straight line, with each advancement replacing what came before. Humanity learned the hard way that this creates unnecessary vulnerabilities." She gestured to one of the displays, showing the interior of a human battlecruiser. "Every system on our ships has at least 3 backups, using different technological bases. If our quantum communications fail, we have radio. If our fusion drives are damaged, chemical thrusters take over. If our AI is compromised, we have human pilots ready to take manual control. The chamber erupted in patterns of color as the Zerans communicated their mixture of disbelief and fascination. The Grand Arbiter raised a limb for silence. But the resources required for such redundancy, they protested, the inefficiency of maintaining multiple systems for the same function. How can your economy support this? Patel's expression hardened, because we remember what happens when we don't. The Mars colony blackout of 2157, the Proxima Centauri incident, the neural network collapse of 2184. Each disaster taught us that relying on a single advanced system, no matter how efficient, creates a single point of failure. She activated her own holographic display, showing historical footage that made several Zeran scales pale to ashen gray. This is what happened to our Lagos space elevator when its quantum stabilizers failed. 3 million lives would have been lost if we hadn't maintained primitive emergency systems. Physical brakes, mechanical backup generators, chemical rocket escape pods. Technologies your civilization abandoned centuries ago saved countless lives that day. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zerans had indeed abandoned their primitive technologies as they advanced, seeing them as inefficient and obsolete. But in doing so, they had also abandoned the security these systems provided. There's more, Patel continued. Our approach doesn't just provide redundancy. It gives us tactical advantages. Your sensors are designed to detect advanced energy signatures, not simple radio waves. Your defenses focus on stopping quantum weapons, not kinetic projectiles. You've created blind spots in your civilization that humanity has learned to exploit. A military advisor's scales flickered with alarm patterns. Is that a threat, Admiral? No, Patel replied firmly. It's a warning and an offer. Humanity's path has been different from yours because our history forced us to prioritize survival over efficiency. We've learned to combine technologies in ways your civilization never considered necessary. We're willing to share this knowledge to help you understand why maintaining and improving upon older technologies alongside new ones creates resilience. The Grand Arbiter's scales shifted through complex patterns of deliberation before settling on a deep, thoughtful blue. You offer us valuable insights, Admiral, but I sense there's more to this proposal than simple technological exchange. Patel nodded grimly. There is. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching from the galactic core, something that seems to be deliberately targeting civilizations that rely solely on advanced technology. We believe humanity's unique approach to technological development might be crucial for survival in the coming crisis. The chamber erupted in chaos as the implications of her words sank in. The Zeran Confederation, for all its advanced technology, had never considered that their path of progress might become their greatest weakness. As they stared at the human admiral standing calmly before them, they began to understand that humanity's seemingly chaotic approach to technology might represent a wisdom their civilization had forgotten. The emergency alert pierced through the tense atmosphere of the joint Human-Zeran Research Station horizon. Dr. Maya Rodriguez looked up from her workstation, where she'd been analyzing the strange energy signatures emanating from the galactic core. The station's lights shifted to deep red as Chief Engineer Kelvin's voice echoed through the corridors. All personnel to emergency stations. Quantum core destabilization in progress. This is not a drill. Maya watched as her Zeran colleague's scales shifted to panic white. The station's quantum core was built on their most advanced technology. Technology they'd insisted was foolproof. She grabbed her emergency kit and rushed toward engineering, passing confused aliens who seemed paralyzed by the unprecedented situation. Status report, she called out as she entered the engineering bay. Kelvin stood before a complex holographic display, showing the core's deteriorating containment field. 3 Zeran engineers hovered nearby, their tendrils weaving patterns of distress as they attempted to stabilize the system through their neural interfaces. It's not responding to standard protocols, one of the Zerans, senior engineer Vex, reported. The quantum fluctuations are cascading beyond our ability to control. By our calculations, we have 18 minutes before total containment failure. Maya studied the readings, her mind racing. The station's quantum core powered everything from life support to artificial gravity. If it failed, 400 people would die, human and Zeran alike. "What about the backup systems?" she asked. "We are the backup systems," Vex replied, their scales showing patterns of resignation. "All of our technology is quantum-based. When the core fails, everything fails." Maya exchanged a knowing look with Kelvin. "Everything of yours, maybe." She activated her comm unit. "Rodriguez to Captain Chen. Request immediate implementation of Project Contingency." There was a brief pause before the captain's voice responded. "Request granted. Good luck, Doctor." The Zerans watched in confusion as Maya and Kelvin rushed to a sealed section of the engineering bay. The heavy doors opened to reveal what looked like ancient technology to the aliens: chemical batteries, combustion generators, and mechanical air pumps. "What is this primitive equipment?" Vex demanded, their scales showing confusion and disdain despite the crisis. "This," Maya replied while activating the systems, "is how humanity survived before quantum technology. We insisted on installing it when the station was built. Your people called it a waste of space and resources." Kelvin moved to another console. "Starting emergency power conversion. Maya, begin the gravity transition. We need to switch to centrifugal force before the artificial gravity fails." The station shuddered as hidden machinery groaned to life. Sections of the station began to rotate, creating gravity through simple physics rather than quantum manipulation. Emergency chemical batteries powered up, ready to take over critical systems. "Impossible," whispered Vex, watching as primitive but effective human technology began to compensate for their failing advanced systems. "These systems shouldn't be able to support a station of this size." "They don't have to be perfect," Maya explained while monitoring the power transition. "They just have to keep us alive. Humans learned long ago that an imperfect solution that works is better than a perfect one that fails." The quantum core's containment field continued to deteriorate, but now its failure wouldn't mean the death of everyone aboard. Basic electrical systems powered emergency lighting. Chemical processors took over life support functions. Mechanical pumps circulated coolant through critical systems. "Engineering team," Captain Chen's voice came through old-style speakers. "We're picking up some unusual readings from the core. The quantum fluctuations, they're not random. Something is causing this." Maya frowned, turning to the monitoring equipment. The core's behavior did seem oddly structured, almost like, "It's a test," she realized suddenly, "or an attack. Something is deliberately interfering with quantum technology." She faced the Zeran engineers. "This is what we detected coming from the galactic core. It's not just approaching. It's already here, probing our weaknesses." The implications hit the aliens hard. Their entire civilization relied on quantum technology. If some force could disable it at will. "How many of your worlds have backup systems like these?" Maya asked quietly. "None," Vex replied, their scales now showing fear-black. "We dismantled all pre-quantum technology centuries ago. It was considered obsolete." A new alarm sounded, this one from the human-installed radar system. Multiple objects had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, their signatures matching nothing in either human or Zeran databases. "They're coming," Captain Chen announced, her voice grim. Long-range sensors show quantum disturbance waves preceding their fleet. Every quantum-based system in their path is failing. Maya looked at the Zeran engineers, seeing the terror in their color-shifting scales. Their civilization's greatest achievement, their mastery of quantum technology, had become their greatest vulnerability. But they weren't alone anymore. "We'll help you," she said firmly. "Humanity never forgot how to build and improve upon the old ways. We can teach you, help you restore the technologies you abandoned." But first, we need to survive what's coming. The station's quantum core finally failed completely, but the humans' primitive backup systems kept everyone alive. As they worked together to strengthen the station's defenses, both species began to understand that the approaching threat might have inadvertently created something powerful, a partnership between those who had mastered the most advanced technology and those who had never forgotten the basics. Fleet Commander Diana Reyes stood in the war room of the Earth Defense Force headquarters, surrounded by both human and Zaren military leaders. The holographic display showed the path of destruction left by the unknown force approaching from the galactic core, a trail of disabled quantum technologies and disrupted civilizations. The attack on Horizon Station was just the beginning, she announced, gesturing to the latest sensor data. In the past week, 17 Zaren outposts have gone dark. Their quantum cores were disabled using the same signature we encountered. But this time, they had no backup systems. Grand Marshal Kex, the Zaren military leader, watched with darkened scales as more reports flooded in. Their mighty civilization, built on the mastery of quantum physics, was being systematically crippled by an enemy they couldn't even detect properly. How are they remaining invisible to our sensors? Kex demanded, tendrils writhing in frustration. Even with quantum systems compromised, we should be able to detect their ships. Because we're looking in the wrong place, responded Dr. Rodriguez, who had been brought in from Horizon Station after the attack. She manipulated the display, focusing on a particular energy reading. We've been scanning normal space, but look at these patterns in the subquantum field. The display shifted, revealing ghostly shapes moving through what looked like the quantum equivalent of deep ocean currents. The beings weren't hiding. They existed in a layer of reality that most civilizations had never thought to explore. They're not ships at all, Diana realized. They're entities that evolved in the subquantum realm. Our quantum technology doesn't just stop working around them. It attracts them, like moths to a flame. A human scientist stepped forward, his expression grim. Or like predators to prey. These beings may see our quantum technology as a food source, consuming the energy that powers our advanced systems. The implications were staggering. The Zaren Confederation, along with most advanced species in the galaxy, had built their entire civilization on technology that essentially acted as a dinner bell for these creatures. But why haven't they attacked Earth's core systems? Kex asked, their scales showing genuine curiosity beneath the fear. Diana smiled grimly. Because we never put all our eggs in one basket. Our quantum technology is distributed, compartmentalized, and always backed up by conventional systems. When they try to feed on our quantum cores, they find smaller, isolated sources rather than the massive networks that power your worlds. So humanity's paranoia about maintaining old technology, Kex began, wasn't paranoia at all, Diana finished. It was survival instinct. And now it might save both our species. The display updated with new information from the front lines. The subquantum entities were moving faster now, drawn by the concentrated quantum energy signatures of major Zaren worlds. They had perhaps days before the first population centers were hit. We need to evacuate your people, Diana stated firmly. Not all of them. We don't have time. But we can save your leadership, your scientists, your engineers, the ones who can help us find a way to fight back. Evacuate. Kex's scales flashed with indignation. To where? Our ships won't function once these creatures get close. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward again. To Earth ships. We've been modifying our vessels since the Horizon incident. Hybrid ships that use minimal quantum technology, spread out in isolated nodes. They're less efficient than your ships, but they'll keep running even under attack. The war room erupted in debate as humans and Zarens argued over priorities and strategies. Diana let them talk, her attention fixed on the tactical display. The entities were moving in patterns now, demonstrating intelligence and coordination. This wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It was an invasion. There's something else, she announced, silencing the room. Look at their movement patterns. They're not just following quantum signatures anymore. They're being directed. Something is coordinating them, using them as weapons. A chill fell over the assembled leaders as they studied the data. The random feeding patterns had evolved into strategic strikes, targeting key military and civilian infrastructure with precision. Someone or something is using these entities to reshape the galaxy, Diana continued, forcing advanced civilizations to either abandon quantum technology or be destroyed. The question is, why? The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior human analyst, monitoring long-range communications, detected a pattern in the quantum static surrounding the entities. When decoded, it contained a message that made everyone's blood run cold. Surrender your quantum matrices. Return to the slow path. This is your only warning. As the implications sank in, Diana looked at the assembled leaders. We're not just fighting quantum-eating monsters. We're facing an advanced civilization that believes quantum technology is too dangerous to exist. They're using these entities as weapons to force the galaxy back to conventional physics. Kex's scales shifted to a pattern that humans had learned meant grim determination. They don't understand what they're doing. Forcing civilizations to abandon their technology won't bring peace. It will cause chaos, death, and suffering on an unimaginable scale. Unless, Diana replied, those civilizations have help from someone who never forgot how to live without quantum technology. The Zeran Confederation has the most advanced scientific minds in the galaxy. Earth has generations of experience maintaining and improving conventional technology. Together, Kex finished, their scales showing a pattern of hope for the first time since the crisis began. We might find a way to fight an enemy that thinks they can force the galaxy back to the Stone Age. The war room burst into activity as humans and Zerans began working together, combining their knowledge and capabilities. The enemy had made a crucial mistake in their plan to force technological regression on the galaxy. They had never considered that the combination of advanced theory and practical experience might create something more powerful than quantum technology alone. The bridge of the EDF Prometheus hummed with activity as Captain Alina Santos watched the final preparations for humanity's most ambitious military operation. The massive ship represented everything humans and Zerans had learned from each other in the past month, a hybrid of quantum and conventional technology that neither species could have created alone. All systems check complete, reported Commander Vex, their scales shimmering with determination. In the weeks since the evacuation of their homeworld, the Zeran officer had adapted to human military protocols with remarkable speed. Quantum nodes are isolated and shielded. Conventional systems are running at optimal efficiency. Elena studied the tactical display showing their fleet, a mix of modified human and Zeran vessels surrounding the Prometheus. Each ship now carried the prototype defense system they'd developed, a network of specialized quantum generators designed not to power the ships, but to serve as bait. Status of the entity swarm, she asked. Dr. Rodriguez, working at a nearby console, pulled up the latest scans. Still following the trail we left. The quantum pulses are drawing them exactly as predicted. They think they're following a panicked evacuation of quantum-powered ships. Instead, they were being led into carefully laid trap. The enemy had demonstrated their arrogance repeatedly, assuming that any civilization dependent on quantum technology would be helpless once it was disabled. They never considered that humans and Zerans working together might find a way to turn their own weapons against them. New contact, announced the sensor officer. Massive subquantum disturbance at the edge of the system. It's them, the controllers. The tactical display shifted, revealing a massive structure emerging from subquantum space. Unlike the entity swarms, this was clearly artificial, a vast lattice of dark energy and exotic matter that defied conventional physics. They're broadcasting, Vex reported, their scales flickering with anger as they translated the message. The alien voice filled the bridge, carrying the same cold certainty they'd heard in previous ultimatums. Your resistance is futile. Quantum technology is a cancer that must be excised from the galaxy. Surrender your matrices and return to conventional physics, or be destroyed with them. Elena exchanged glances with her mixed human-Zeran bridge crew. Everything they'd worked for came down to this moment. Send our response. Attention unknown vessel, she broadcast, her voice firm. This is Captain Elena Santos of the Earth Defense Force. We reject your ultimatum. You claim to protect the galaxy, but you're nothing more than terrorists using stolen weapons you don't understand. We're here to show you exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity and our allies. She nodded to Dr. Rodriguez. Begin Phase 1. Across the fleet, the specialized quantum generators activated, creating a web of energy that drew the entity swarm into a carefully calculated pattern. The massive alien vessel, noticing the concentration of quantum signatures, moved closer to observe what they assumed would be another feeding frenzy. They're in position, Rodriguez reported. Entity swarm is at maximum density. Phase 2, Elena ordered. Deploy the resonators. Hidden compartments opened across the fleet's hulls, revealing arrays of devices that looked deceptively simple, conventional radio transmitters modified with Zeran quantum theory to broadcast on subquantum frequencies. The entities, drawn by the quantum energy, found themselves caught in a web of overlapping fields that trapped them in normal space. The alien vessel reacted immediately, firing weapons that distorted reality itself. But the human ships, running primarily on conventional technology, powered through the quantum disruption fields. The Zeran vessels, their systems distributed and shielded according to human design principles, maintained formation. They've never faced an enemy they couldn't disable, Vex observed, their scales showing fierce pride. They don't know how to fight a real battle. Phase 3, Elena commanded. Show them what happens when you combine human stubbornness with Zeran ingenuity. The trapped entity swarm, responding to the subquantum frequencies, began to turn against their controllers. The aliens had never bothered to truly understand the beings they'd enslaved, seeing them as simple predators to be pointed at targets. But humans and Zerans, working together, had discovered that the entities were far more complex and far more willing to turn on their captors once freed from control. The alien vessel's shields buckled under the assault of their own weapons, their quantum-based technology, far more advanced than anything the Zarans had developed, proved to be their undoing as the entities tore into their systems. They're powering up some kind of temporal drive, Rodriguez warned, trying to escape into subquantum space. Not this time, Elena replied. All ships, execute final attack pattern. Conventional weapons only. The human Zeran fleet opened fire with a barrage that would have seemed primitive to the aliens just months ago. Physical projectiles, chemical explosives, and nuclear warheads. Against their quantum-based defenses, already strained by the entity swarm, the simple kinetic impacts proved devastating. The massive alien vessel began to break apart, its exotic construction unable to maintain coherence under the assault. As their systems failed, a final transmission reached the fleet. Impossible. Quantum technology was the ultimate power. No, Elena responded, though the aliens could no longer hear. The ultimate power is knowing when to use advanced technology and when to trust in simpler solutions, a lesson humanity never forgot, and one the Zerans have now learned. Hours later, as the fleet secured the system and began collecting data from the destroyed alien vessel, Elena stood with Vex in the Prometheus's observation deck. They watched as teams of human and Zeran scientists worked together to understand and safely contain the entity swarm, no longer weapons but potentially new allies in humanity's expansion into the galaxy. We were wrong about your species, Vex admitted, their scales showing deep respect. We thought your refusal to fully embrace quantum technology was a sign of primitive thinking. Instead, it was wisdom we had forgotten. Elena smiled. And we learned from you as well. Humanity's paranoia about advanced technology held us back in some ways. Together, we found a balance, a way to move forward without losing sight of our foundations. As they watched the combined fleet prepare for the journey home, both Human and Zera knew that this victory was more than just a military success. It represented a new way forward for both civilizations, one that combined the best of both worlds, proving that true advancement didn't mean abandoning the past, but building upon it. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had been fighting for all along.